right, welcome to the Corner, a fantasy football show. I'm your host, Steve, aka Schlongy. I'm here always by my friends, my cohorts, Joe and Bonnie, aka Esteban. We call him Bonnie here. How you guys doing today?
Good, good. Today I'm Papacito, by the way.
You're
Yeah, it
Papacito. You're
changes
still
every week.
Bonnie to us. You're always going to be Bonnie to us. I don't care what you say.
That's fine with me.
I mean,
I don't know. I kind of like Papacito. I feel like that should be a thing.
you want? I think that's like the Poppy thing from
Although I've
last week.
called you Papacito plenty of times, Schlungy.
Yeah,
I
you
feel like
have.
that fits you as well.
And thank you.
Your alter ego, Schlungito.
We'll save that on time, different times, a different place, and for all that. So we are recording this a day later than normal. Yesterday there was a little scheduling conflict. Joe's daughter had a birthday, so happy birthday to your daughter, Joe.
Thank you.
And how was that party?
It was good. Lots of cake, lots of food, lots of screaming. It was good.
Of course, did you get her a nice one of those nice Chicago's finest right there?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, no, she likes the Chicago pizza. I'll tell you that. She's into Chicago pizza. So it's a lot better than whatever we were having in Miami.
Well, anything's better than Miami. I mean, Miami, you don't go to Miami for pizza.
No, you definitely don't. No,
No,
at all.
it must be the water.
Yeah, must be the water. That's it.
How about you, Bonnie? You had the day off today, so did you have some fun
Yeah,
around the
I've been
city?
out gallivanting all over New York City, in Flushing and Brooklyn, back to Flushing, stopped in Manhattan. So, just doing that dumb shit. Uh,
Absolutely.
Back to work Monday.
Well, at least you get to enjoy today, and you get tomorrow off, going in a nice 4-day weekend. Lazy motherfucker. Put you to work when you get back. I'm gonna just hound you with questions. All right. So today we are talking about, who we would take in a hypothetical situation between two players. 'Cause everybody always has that. Everybody always has, who do I choose between this guy and this guy? And I mean, you guys post that all over on social media. You're calling into radio shows, you're emailing podcasts. Everybody has that. Who would you take in this scenario? So we thought, there'd be some great choices, some tough choices that people may want. So that's always an interesting thing. We're also going to talk about with preseason games starting tonight on Thursday, what you should be looking for in the games. Because really, some people care about the preseason, but a lot of people really don't. They just throw by it and they don't really care. But before we get into those topics, let's talk about some news and notes that happened in this past week. So, the first thing that came out is Puka Nacua and Josh Jacobs are still under investigation by the NFL. Now, they're both being highly drafted in their the drafts, I guess you can say. But you don't know what's happening with that. There is a potential suspension in both cases, and Puka, with the stupidity that is him, has continued on. Instead of just backing away, he's getting injured in practice, but that's more practice. But he's running through glass windows or glass doors at parties, which is not a smart choice, especially with the offseason that he's had. He's basically saying, hey, Ray Rice, you're doing this, let me do one better and just continue the stupidity. Bears came out and said that Kobe Bryant, the safety, their free agent acquisition, well, they said he was out, 6 to 8, 8 to 10 weeks. Now they have said he's out 4 to 6 months. So Kobe Bryant is out for the regular season, essentially, potentially the playoffs. That is a very drastic thing when it comes to the Bears defense because that Bears defense, especially that secondary, is depleted across the board. Speaking of the Bears and depletions and injuries, Luther Burden came out with a leg injury and he's out pretty much for the entire preseason. But they have said that he should be ready to go week 1. And honestly, it's not like a guy who's, battling a roster spot, whether he's a starter or he's not. He's already locked in as that number 2 wide receiver with Roman Dunze. So, this is good for him. He's gotten his 2 weeks of cardio. Let him sit back, let him rest, let him be healthy for the regular season because I feel like the Bears are going to have to play a lot of high scoring games. This feels like a Bengals kind of feel compared to how the Bengals were last season with their defense and they had to constantly score points. Also, Kyler Murray was named the starting quarterback for Minnesota over JJ McCarthy, and that was an interesting thing because reports out of Minnesota was Kyler was actually struggling with the offense. He was struggling with that, and actually McCarthy looked better. But I guess McCarthy's attitude and how he has been is what made Kevin O'Connell say, Kyler, you're also a starter. And it's really interesting, and I'll have some thoughts about that. I'm just curious, Joe, what's your take on all this news that's coming out? And I do have a question for you because you are a Chicago native right now. So,
Yeah.
what would you say
Um,
about some of that news?
uh, I none of it is that worrisome to me from a fantasy standpoint, except uh, I'd say two things. Puka. I feel like Puka missing time is big because Puka's going in the first round for people. And so that's a big piece that you're not going to be able to use. And not only are you not going to be using them at the beginning, I mean, who knows if this behavior is now a trend and it continues throughout the season. Now you're sort of rolling the dice with I don't know, a little bit of a dysfunctional person. And also the Kyler news. I like that. I think I know Kyler gets a bad rap, and it was always said that he was, not a hard worker in Arizona, and he didn't, he was always more interested in video games and things like that. But he's really talented, and I think someone like Justin Jefferson could benefit even more from a scrambling quarterback like Kyler Murray. So I'd actually be more interested in someone like Justin Jefferson now that Kyler is officially named the quarterback.
Well, starting off with the Bears injury, I think whenever you already have like a pretty potent offense, now you have their defense taking a hit, so it's not as good. It's almost good for their offense. It means that Caleb's probably going to have to throw more, which is probably better for Dunze. Um, their tight end, who's in his second year, I forget his name, Loveland, I
Loveland.
think, right? Yeah, and Burden. Um, so it might be a blessing for disguise in fantasy. And in real life football, of course, it's not good for them because their defense takes a hit, but we don't really care about that much in fantasy land. As far as Puka goes, shit, man, I myself have gone through a screen door at my uncle's house while drunk, so like I don't think that's a big deal. Puka is just like he is volatile. He's kind of like a big kid. And he's volatile both off the field and on the field. His on the field is kind of crazy. You can see the way he plays. He just like uh he puts his body through hell. But uh but I like Puka. I mean, I'm willing to take a chance on that. Even though it's risky, he might miss some games for his retardedness. He's also going to pop off for like 30 points every now and again. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Fair enough. All right, so let's just jump right into it, guys. So again, we are talking about a hypothetical situation, and we're not going to talk about um, who your first pick was or what your team looks like. We're just basically saying player A, player B, who are you going to take? And that is really this nice fun thought exercise we have. So, we got four groupings here, and the first pairing is a pair of wide receivers. They were former teammates, both going in second, third round, depending on how big your draft is. 10, 12, 14 teams. And that is AJ Brown versus Devonta Smith. And Bonnie, who are you taking?
This is a close one, but I'm gonna go with AJ Brown. I I like Drake May's deep ball, and I think that he was effective last year on the deep ball, and that's without a wide receiver as good as AJ Brown. So I think he's going to be even more effective with AJ Brown now. Granted, last year they did have the easiest schedule in the NFL, so we'll see how it goes. Um, and this isn't to take anything away from Devontae Smith. I think Devontae Smith is a baller, and I think he'll do good this year too. But give me AJ Brown and just a slight edge.
Uh, so I mean, I think I already made it clear last week of my Eagles biasy. I'm going to take Devonta here. AJ is still a little volatile for me to really depend on week to week consistently. We know he's super skillful. We know what he can do, but my biggest gripe with AJ is his consistency. He's not consistent, and he seems to get into some team drama issues as well, and that seems to be a thing in New England over the last couple of years. But yeah, no, give me Devonta, especially with Saquon having a big bounce back year and that offense opening up a little bit with the new offensive coordinator. Give me Smith.
Okay. Yeah, the thing, I would lean between the two. Personally, I'm taking Devonta. I mean, don't get me wrong. If either of you guys are available, I'm so happy with either choice. If Devonta's not there and AJ's there, depending where I am in the second, I may take him. But when you look at the difference, I think quarterback play does play a factor. As Bonnie, you alluded to, yes, they had an easier schedule, and now they have a tougher one because they won the division, so they've got tougher opponents. But Drake May also spreads the ball around. He doesn't focus on that one receiver. Even when he had Stephon Diggs, he spread it around to everybody. So my concern with AJ is the fact that if he doesn't get the ball consistently, even though he's got the coach there he loves and a quarterback who's actually really good, what happens when he doesn't get the ball? Is old AJ Brown going to pop where he's fighting and he is difficult, or is Devon, or is he going to be how we think he is going to be in those early years? All right, let's jump to the next matchup, guys. These are also second round and in some cases a potential first round running backs. Both very close, both very similar skill sets. We are talking about Kansas City Chief running back Kenneth Walker III versus Miami Dolphin Devon Achane. Joe, as our former Miami resident, who you taking?
Kenneth Walker. Have you seen him this preseason? He's feisty. He wants to get into fights. He's been in like three fights already, all with his teammates. And he's the reigning Super Bowl MVP. As long as he stays healthy, I mean, that's my own biggest question mark to him, right? Is can he stay healthy? If they can manage his workload the way Seattle did last year, so that he had an unbelievable run in the playoffs and Super Bowl, they're going to be amazing. But Kenneth Walker, I mean, Achan, he's so talented. He's so fast. But again, another injury-prone guy. And until the Dolphins could prove something to me, it's hard for me to take Achan. I would take Kenneth Walker.
I got to go Achan on this. I do like Achan's ceiling in some of these games. I feel like he can pop off for a huge amount just because of his pure speed and athleticism. Both guys I feel like are injury prone. Um, but I feel like the Chiefs, they can rely on more than just Kenneth Walker. They have Kelsey in the red zone. They have Rashee Rice. They have another wide receiver who's been stepping up in the preseason. Cyrus Allen, I think is his name. Uh, Patty Mahomes is a beast. He's going to get his. So in contrast, I think the Dolphins, they literally have like two guys. Actually, all that they have is Achan. So they're going to lean on Achan every freaking game. I think Achan's wheels are eventually going to fall off, but up until then, he's going to be solid numbers.
Yeah, I agree. Again, this is another scenario where I'd be ecstatic with either guy. I feel like Achan is like that CMC light. He's not like CMC, but he's got a lot of the same skill sets that CMC had back in those Lake Carolina seasons and those first couple years in San Francisco when he just balled out and went insane. So I like that. I would take Walker in this situation because Mahomes is coming back from a season-ending injury. I feel like they're gonna move him slowly, and they're gonna rely a lot more on the run because Mahomes hasn't had this kind of running back. Also, I hear a little rumor that this is kind of like a LaShawn Walker is being treated like a Marshawn McCoy and a Brian Westbrook back in Reed's Eagles days. So that's a nice thing to see. All right. Our third matchup brings us to the quarterback position. We are running up with, and quarterbacks are all over the place. So let's just go with Drake May versus Joe Burrow. Bonnie, who you taking?
This is a no-brainer for me. I'm taking Joe Burrow all day, every day. Joe Burrow is proven he's a baller. He's gonna get his 4 TDs to Jamar Chase or T. Higgins or even Chase out of the backfield. Drake May, uh, he was great last year. Don't get me wrong, but he had the easiest schedule in the NFL. He's not gonna have that this year. So let's see how he does. He was absolutely atrocious against the Texans. I'm sorry, in the Super Bowl against the Seahawks. The Patriots literally got like the easiest cakewalk I've ever seen to the Super Bowl last year and got absolutely demolished and embarrassed. So yeah, give me Joey B all day.
Yeah, I'm just for the simple fact, looking at last season, I think Trey May overperformed. I think Joe Burrow wildly underperformed. So I think it's going to flip-flop this year. And I actually like the Bengals to do pretty well this year. I know Chase, a lot of people were big on Chase Brown last year. He's also going to have another big year. The Bengals as a whole, yeah, just give me Joe Burrow. I don't really think I'm still, I know it sounds crazy, but I'm still not sold on Drake May, even though he went to the Super Bowl and brought his team to the Super Bowl last year. You know,
Well, you
but yeah,
see how he
no,
did in the
bro.
Super Bowl, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
guess they did pretty bad, the Patriots.
Oh, they were
Yeah. And I
atrocious.
didn't view the Seahawks as some dominant force, but they made the Seahawks look like a dominant force.
The Seahawks actually were actually low key very good defensively. They but everybody focuses so much on offense and how that offense overperformed kind of made it for Seattle. But in terms of those quarterbacks, I think I would lean slightly to Drake May over Burrow. And the reason why is Burrow, don't get me wrong, Burrow putting up stats and he was injured. He was out for pretty much the entire year, so he really that's his underperformance. It was injured. He missed a bunch of games. Let's not forget Browning was there and Flacco were quarterback. Um, but with Drake May, they are going to be playing bigger games that probably going to rely to throw more. The Bengals defense is going to be low key a lot better than it was last year. Let's not forget they invested a lot, not just Dexter Lawrence, but they invested a lot on the defensive side of the ball. That means that they might be able to maintain leads better, which means they're not going to rely on Burrow as much. And I think Chase Brown will be more useful and Burrow won't. But I completely agree that Drake May is going to have a regression. The numbers he put up last year, who knows? Last matchup, guys. We are going to go to a pair of Ohio State wide receivers. Both these guys are late rounds, and I mean they're about rounds 6 to 8, depending on your draft. We are going with the rookie Carnell Tate versus Marvin Harrison Jr. Joe, who are you taking in this matchup of OSU players?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I'm going to go Tate just on the fact that Marvin Harrison has had a very mediocre NFL career up at this point. And I think I'm being really giving by saying that. And just watching him in the preseason and seeing some highlights of him dropping ball after ball after ball, I'm not sure he's worth much these days. I would, I mean, if you really want to throw him maybe deep on your bench and see if he somehow improves over the season, but I wouldn't take him over Tate at this point. No way.
Yeah, I agree. Give me Tate. Marvin Harrison Jr. has been trash for ever since he came to the NFL. Uh, the Titans actually, in my opinion, might do better than people expect. Robert Saleh is a decent head coach. He always improves the defense. And they have Dable as the offensive coordinator, and he's pretty good with quarterbacks. So I could see him improving Cam Ward. And if Cam Ward has all the talent in the world, I think he can get the ball to his playmakers like that former Giant wide receiver. I forget his name, little squirrely
Wandell.
guy who's pretty good. Yeah, Wandale and Tate. So I think Tate's going to do way better than Marvin Harrison Jr.
I think they're both gonna be good. I'm gonna play contrarian again. I Give me Marvin Harrison, and it's nothing against Tate. I agree with everything you guys said on both fronts. I think. Tate's good. I like the Dable hiring, and let's not forget Ward is in his second year. Every rookie struggles their first year. Caleb struggled a couple years ago. Uh, Jaden Daniels magically just had the most absurd rookie year I've ever seen. And Drake May, same thing. But majority, the history shows that rookie quarterbacks who start, their first year is always rough, and then it's a massive growth in the second year. But yes, he does have the quarterback coach. There is enough talent, and there is a running game. There's a defensive minded coach. Um, the offense, I think, is going to play. They're not going to push Ward too much, but I just love Marvin Harrison. I think everybody's just selling him because of the drops. So give me the buy on that one. So that's me personally on that one. All right. So let's take a moment, guys, and let's talk real quick. We want to thank everybody who has continued watching the show, who is subscribing, who is here to support us. I mean, we can't really do this without you guys. We appreciate it.
Thank you,
If
Mom.
this So if this is your first time watching the show or you've been a while, please hit the like button, please hit subscribe. Let your friends, let your family know. Let's get this word out. Let's help us grow this show. It's definitely a fun experience for everybody, and let's keep it going. Now, when we think of the preseason, again, not many people really care about it. You don't. You keep. You check the box scores the next day or at that night, or if your team is playing, get the ESPN notifications about how it is. But again, you're blowing them off. You're not really caring about it. Preseason really tells a lot about how that season's going to go. And if you want to be successful in fantasy, there are some things that I personally follow in terms of that. So that brings us to tonight's six. And tonight is six is focusing on what to watch for the preseason. That first preseason thing, number coming in at number six, don't get too focused on the box scores. Especially this first preseason game, a lot of the starters play like 5 to 10 snaps, a series or two. They don't focus on the actual game. So don't get hyped up that this player didn't do well. For example, in the Arizona game, Marvin Harrison has one reception for 7 yards. Don't get caught up in that. For all we know, they played 5 snaps. Joe Burrow went 5 for 6. Jamar Chase had a 14-yard reception. No one really cares. Bonnie, what's your feel on that take about the box scores?
I do care about the box scores. I don't care about the box scores for the regular season projected starters for the most part, but it's those fringe players that are playing to get on the roster, and you don't know if they're gonna make wide receiver three or maybe second string running back or third string running back. You will see guys. Just for example, you mentioned the Cardinals, Vegas, the Raiders game. This guy Jalen Brooks got 6 targets. He got 6 targets for a reason. They're going to see if this guy can make the squad. So you look at the guys who got 6 targets, 7 targets, whatever it may be. If they performed well, just make a note there and see how they do the rest of the preseason. And if they do well, maybe take a flyer out in one of them.
That's late, but again, the guys who are playing right now are like second and third stringers. They're not our starting caliber guys. All right.
Yeah.
Our fifth rule, or of the six, I guess you can say, my number five. Who's playing and who is not? And that's a big thing. So when you're looking at if the stars are playing, who played? Take a look. If you want to check the box score or the game cast, check who actually played in the snaps. How many snaps did they play? If, for example, the second stringers are in, who we expect as a starter that's actually a second stringer? And the flip side, if the starters aren't playing, which player that may have been on that first, second team is now not playing? So, an example is Gadsden, the tight end from the Chargers. Everybody was so hyped on him last year. Everybody's hyped on him still now. Guess what? Njoku didn't play. Gaston played. So what does that tell you about the tight end depth chart for the Chargers, for example, and even in the regular games, especially if the stars aren't playing? Joe, what's your take on that?
Tells me I don't give a damn. Um, Yeah, and I say that only because I've been burned so many years where I started watching the preseason intently. And I see these guys who are like preseason all-stars. I see them getting a lot of snaps, a lot of plays. They're making these big catches. I'm like, oh, I'm going to draft them late. And I get them late. They don't play. And when they do finally play, I've already dropped them, or they're just, they don't do anything. So I think I've been burned too many times for me to even care.
That's true. I mean, again, the first preseason game, it's basically just work out the cobwebs. You just really want to survive. I think that second one is really because there's only three preseason games. It's that second game that's fairly important in terms of that, and that's really a telltale sign of who's with the first team and who's not with the first team on that one. All
Ooh,
right,
Mendoza just threw his first touchdown.
there you go. See. All right, the fourth, number four. Who's playing with the first team? Again, it ties into who's playing and who's not playing. And I mean, Mendoza's playing, but guess what? Kirk Cousins actually was starting. So Kirk Cousins took those first team snaps. Kyler, when the Vikings play the Giants tomorrow or on Friday night, whenever you guys are watching this, who's playing with Kyler Murray when they actually are on the field? Who is, when we're going through the box scores, who's also lined up? And that also plays a factor into that snap share on that one. Bonnie, what's your take on the first team? Because you're as you said, you pay attention to the box scores, which means you're paying attention to those snaps, who's getting targeted. So what's your take on this?
Yeah, it's a body of work for me. So, a lot of times the starters are maybe going to play one preseason game, really more than one series. And they're already solidified in their spots. But there's those fringe positions like wide receiver 3, 4, which will get a lot of run. And I don't put too much stock into one game. It's the body of work throughout the entire preseason. If you've been balling out, then, like I said, maybe they'll take a flyer on you late in like round 10 or 11 or some shit like that.
All right. Yeah, I mean, the first teams again, it's always one of those things you really just need to take a look on to see because it is and it does change on a weekly thing because whoever plays in the practice with the first team in practice may not be on the first team in the game. Maybe the starter's out injured. So that's why we always want to say, look what's happening at the game. Practice is a telltale sign of who's starting with the first team and not. But really, it's that game where that focus is. All right, the number three in the six. What formations are teams using? So how they're lined up actually is how they're going to play the season. It's an idea. Those new offenses, especially with all the different offensive coordinators that have changed and the turnover that happened. Head coaches. I think it's what 10 head coaches were changed and 27 coordinators, both on the offense and defensive side of the ball. So it's not just the offensive side, the defense. I mentioned last week the Jaguars having focus on the 12 personnel. The Packers on the defense are switching from a 4-3 to a 3-4. How does that affect the defense? So there's a lot of factors that play in, and also not even the factors in the formations. Who's playing in those and who's not? Joe, what's your take on that?
Uh, that's somewhat important for me, but only for I guess it's more of a hyper focus for me. So because I think we mentioned last week that, I like to target a group of guys, a core group of guys to draft my whole team around. And that's usually a group of like 7 to 8 guys because I know I'm not getting them all. But those guys, I would see what their teams are doing during the preseason to sort of get a better gauge on if I really want to push it with these guys or do I want to pivot. So I think it's pretty important to see, just how aggressive they're looking to be. If it's a new if it's a new coordinator and there's new schemes out there, just to see, how the players out there are adapting to it. I think it's pretty important. But again, I would hyper focus to the guys that I'm looking at.
I agree on that one. I mean, the formation does play a big thing. It also sees what's going to happen also, which leads us to number two. Which, how efficient are the teams? How as efficient is that offense? How efficient is the defense? Are they making stops? Yes, it's preseason, even when you have the twos and threes in there. But seeing a lot of fantasy football focuses on the offensive side of the ball. How efficient are those new offenses, especially with those quarters? Are they struggling to even move the ball down the field, especially with those first teams? Are they able? Do they score a touchdown? You know, do those first team things come out? They score a touchdown. They're good for the night. That means that their offense is actually clicking. Are they struggling? Is it a three and out? Are they losing yards? How's that O line handling it? Because that takes time if there's a new group. Steve, what's your thoughts on that? And how efficient teams are, and you thinking about that from the preseason watching?
Yeah, this is one thing I really don't give a shit about as far as efficiency goes. Because there's going to be a lot of like moving around of personnel and people might not be playing together that often. So you need, time to gel together before you can expect that efficiency and consistency. It's more like I just want to see if guys can make like big plays because I'm more of the home run hitter guy. I'm going to look for those running backs who can peel off like 20-yard runs, maybe more than once in the preseason, or those wide receivers who can make more than one 20 or 30-yard catch in the preseason. I don't care if the offense is sputtering, if the defense is, not doing well, like whatever. I'm just looking at individual performances as opposed to team performance.
Sure. Joe, do you have any thought on this real quick?
No, I agree with Esteban there. I'm piggybacking off the whole thing.
There you
My
go.
lazy answer.
Whatever. You know what? I thought we can get your take on this one, see how it is. All right. This brings us to the number one point, especially for that six, the coaching tendencies. So, how aggressive? Are we playing it safe? Are the coaches playing it safe? Are they, satisfied with how their offenses and defenses are playing? I mean that does play a factor, especially early in the preseason. I think week two, so next week's games, is going to be a real telltale how they are going to be on that one. Steve, you're shaking your head like you're just like forget about it. But I want to hear
Hey,
what
I think
Joe
you're putting
says.
way too much like emphasis on like the preseason right now. It's really just like a couple of guys are going to stand out. And like Joe said, 90% of the time, maybe 98% of the time, you're going to maybe have this guy on your roster for 2 or 3 weeks. He's going to do shit. And then like maybe in week 7 or 8, he'll finally get some playing time, but by then he's long gone. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe. I think this was your question.
It's all right.
No, again, beautiful, beautifully said. Um, yeah, I mean, listen, I watch a preseason because, like everyone else, you're sort of thirsty for some football, right? Like even if it's football that really doesn't matter or doesn't really count. So you may watch, for that. But otherwise, I mean, I everything that I see, I take with a grain of salt. I think the one thing to me is what I last or what you last brought up. I forgot what number that was. It was three, maybe. Um, the different schemes that they're playing and see how
Number
some of the
three.
players adapt to that. But other than that, the starters, those fantasy guys that are going in rounds one, two, three, four, five. I'm not sitting there watching how their preseason is unless maybe they're coming off a horrific injury and I want to see how they are physically. But other than that, we know what we're gonna expect from them. It's those fringe guys, and really, it's just a big gamble at the end of the day with some of them.
Absolutely. All right. So we have pretty much run our course for this episode. And I thought it would be fun to do a little change for this. So we're going to give both you, Joe, and you, Bonnie, 1 minute. You guys can say whatever the hell you guys want to for this minute. I'll let you guys have the floor if you want. Doesn't even have to be a minute. You can make it 30 seconds if you want. I don't care. Bonnie, let's start with you. What is your final words for today?
Shit, fun. You know what's funny actually? When we were coming back from Brooklyn, we actually walked by the Nets Stadium. What's that arena called?
The
Joe? I
Barclays.
forget. Yeah, Barclays Arena. And they had a WNBA game going on, so people were gonna go watch. it's so fucking hilarious what's going on with the WNBA. If Enes Kanter gets in or Royce White gets in, I might actually attend a WNBA game just to watch them dunk on Angel Reese. I actually hope that the WNBA like fixes the issues they have and it doesn't happen for the sake of all women who play basketball. But it's kind of hilarious that they're so like retarded. That said, I'm kind of looking forward, like I said, in a weird way, to maybe going to my first WNBA game if we can see some weirdness going on.
Fair enough. Joe, your final words. I can't wait for these.
Like, I can't believe I started. Let me just go on record and say Enes Kanter and Royce White are mildly retarded.
Did
Um,
you see the wig that Royce White has been wearing on TV? It's like so
Royce White
ridiculous.
is, I mean, listen, I get it's in vogue to be grifting these days, but it's almost like a cartoonish at this point. Anyway, um, I was just going to keep it fantasy football related this week. I will put more personal thought into something more exciting next week. But as far as fantasy football is concerned, I would like to say don't fall, because this happens every year. Let's not fall in love with the team you draft. It happens every year. Guys look at their team after the draft. They go, "Oh my God, this is the perfect team." They go 0-1, then they go 0-2, and so they start doubling and tripling down. They don't make any moves. They go silent. All of a
Sounds
sudden,
like someone I know in this group
you know,
chat.
all of a sudden, well, if one ball, if something rolled one way, it could be different. No, you drafted a mediocre to terrible team, and it's time to make moves immediately. We're in a 14 team league. If things start going downhill fast, you might want to make a move fast instead of sitting around like a sitting down.
All right. So let me get my final words in, my parting words for this beautiful edition of the corner here. I know we have some WNBA takes on this one. Um, no, I mean in the grand scheme of things, and I just lost my train of thought. Shit. So I mean to piggyback on Joe and the fantasy football thing, watch avoid the bullshit hype. Because if you've seen, and my Facebook has this, and I scroll, or my social media has it, it's always the same thing. It's about some random Joe Schmo talking about, oh, you got to get this player, this hype, you know. Somebody we like to say, I'm not going to name drop that asshole in this chat because he's all bullshit. But then, I saw one from Matthew Berry, and he was talking about Parker Washington, and I immediately
MB
put
knows
in the
his
chat with
shit.
you guys on this
MB knows his
bullshit.
shit.
Listen, Matthew Berry's a legend, so don't knock MB.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I love what he does. I love his things. But I'm going to tell you right now, I can't wait to prove him wrong on Parker Washington. So, not to vent on that, but we've
I'm
run the
sure he's
course.
losing sleep.
We have run our course for this corner. Joe, Spani, thank you both again for joining me. I know we did this a day later to accommodate Joe on this one for his daughter. Which, you know what? Hey, we take family very important. Both you guys
Butter.
have a great evening, guys, and I will see you guys next week. Hope you guys enjoy the preseason.
Adios.
Adios.
See you guys.